There are few things more frustrating in a puzzle game than figuring out the solution to an obstacle, only to find yourself fighting with cumbersome controls and unpredictable physics when you're ready to move forward. This happened to me far too often during my time with Tiny Brains, an indie puzzler for PlayStation 4. Its few really neat ideas are suffocated beneath finicky mechanics, uninspired and recycled challenges, and long belts of frustration. Tiny Brains is meant to be played multiplayer. The problem here is it's not a very good multiplayer game, and it's even worse when you're playing it alone.
Come on, guys. I thought we were, you and me, having much fun together.
The basic premise of Tiny Brains has a lot of potential. A group of 4 critters who've been experimented on to the point of developing superpowers escape their mad scientist captor. One can create blocks, a pair can force push or pull objects, and the other one can swap places with anything in the environment. Each of the powers are great on paper, but stumble in execution. Trying to highlight a specific object that you need to swap with on the other side of a room is tough thanks to the incredibly fussy aiming system. Using your push and pull abilities to roll a ball across a room filled with chasms becomes a chore when you can't quite get a handle on the ball's inertia. And then there's the power to create a block, which is underutilized to the point where a player feels a bit useless for long stretches of multiplayer. Most challenges revolve around going from point A to point B, with the occasional switch that needs to be pressed. The problem here is that once you've mentally solved the puzzle, the unreliable sticky aim system, unpredictable physics, and graphical hiccups seem to actively work against you. Tiny Brains occasionally tosses an arena battle into the mix, but these quickly grow tiresome once you realize the quickest way to dispatch enemies. And aside from the main campaign, there are a handful of challenge rooms where your team has to solve tough puzzles quickly, try to keep an object safe in a dangerous room, or play soccer against each other. These are completely forgettable diversions that serve little beyond padding out the menu. Tiny Brains is infuriating when you attempt to solve its incredibly linear 2.5-hour campaign by yourself. You have to hot swap between the 4 creatures, and seeing as how most puzzles require at least 3 different abilities to solve, you'll be doing a hell of a lot of swapping. The best moments I had with Tiny Brains involved 4 people yelling at each other, gesturing towards areas of the television, and ultimately cheering in joy once we managed to physically solve a puzzle that we'd mentally conquered a few minutes back. While I have the luxury of working in an office full of PS4 controllers, I imagine many early adopters will have a tough time wrangling up 4 controllers needed to experience Tiny Brains at its best. And though it does have an online mode, not being in the same room removes that chaotic fun, leaving you with just more frustration. There is a great idea at the core of Tiny Brains. When it works, having 4 people sitting on a single sofa and working together to solve a tricky puzzle becomes a great moment of local camaraderie that's sorely lacking from modern gaming. Sadly, these moments are too few and far between, and only the most patient of people will be willing to wade through the rest of the game in order to find them. For more on Tiny Brains, stay here on IGN.